What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 240. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Erik Koch versus Kyle Stewart. I feel like Kyle Stewart's a decent fighter. He's good everywhere, but I feel the same way about Erik Koch. You know, Erik Koch hasn't fought in like over a year. He's so weird. Like sometimes he looks super good and sometimes he looks super bad, and then he'll go on these like big layoffs. He's been fighting since he was like 18. But it's so weird with Erik Koch because I think he can be really good, but I just don't feel like he's super consistent. I'm not really sure which way this fight's going to go. Like I said, they're both good kickboxers with jiu-jitsu and some wrestling, but I'm leaning towards Erik Koch. I just think he's the better fighter, unless this layoffs just fucked him. But I think if he looks like how he usually looks, he should be the better fighter. Next is Gillian Robertson versus Sarah Fonta, and I just feel like Gillian Robertson's better everywhere. I think especially in the grappling. I think Gillian's probably going to get it to the ground win by submission early. Next is Alexandre Pantoja versus Deiveson Figueiredo, and this should be on the main card. Let's just fucking be real. It's number 3 versus number 4. I don't know why they always put the best fights on these fucking undercards, and they're not the main event on the undercard. You know, that excuse is dead at this point. I'm just sorry for ranting, but it's bullshit why these fights aren't on the fucking main card. Like I said, this is the third best fight on the whole card, just name-wise. I feel like Deiveson Figueiredo's got the type of one-punch knockout power where he can win any fight, and he's very good, to be fair. But I do feel like if he's on his back, he's not that great. And I feel like we saw when he fought Juicy A, it's not that hard to take him down. And in his UFC fights, we've seen that too. I mean, he has decent takedown defense, but he doesn't have great takedown defense. And I feel like Pantoja can pretty much take him down whenever he wants. And I think his striking is good enough to hang with him on the feet and not get caught by one of those big bolo punches. So I just think Pantoja is going to win at least 2 of the 3 rounds. I think it'll be a fun fight, but like I said, I just think his wrestling and overall jiu-jitsu is way better than Figueiredo's. Next, we got Gavin Tucker versus Sung-Woo Choi, and Gavin Tucker looked really shitty his last time out. Like, he got dominated really badly. He's been out for like a year or 2, and it's because he took so much damage in that fight, and it makes me wonder what he's going to look like coming back. I felt like we kind of saw he's a tough guy, but he's not super well-rounded. I mean, he can kind of survive on the ground, but he's not super great there. He's mainly a kickboxer. I feel like Sung-Woo Choi is also primarily a striker, but I think he's a little bit more well-rounded. And I also think he hits a bit harder. They're both primarily strikers, and I think Woo Choi, their technique's about the same, but Woo Choi hits a bit harder. So I'm leaning towards Woo Choi, because his last fight was super close against a guy who was a pretty big favorite, and he made that fight look pretty close. So I'm leaning towards Woo Choi. I think he wins by knockout or TKO. Next, we got Hakeem Duquesnoy versus Yoshihiro Hori. And, you know, Yoshi, to me, he looks like a good striker, but I just think Duquesnoy's a much better striker. You know, you never know. He could catch him. I think he's got more power than Duquesnoy, but I just think Duquesnoy's technique's a lot better, so I think Duquesnoy's going to just win every round and win a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Alexis Davis versus Vivian Araujo. And to me, this is another fight where it's like striker, jiu-jitsu chicks, but I think Alexis Davis is just a little bit better everywhere. I think Alexis Davis is going to outpoint her on the feet and just out-grapple on the ground and probably win by decision. Just want to say real fast, this card is, you know, it's a pay-per-view card, but it's kind of shitty, in all honesty. I think some of the fucking Fight Night cards have been better than this card is, in my personal opinion. Anyway, the next fight is Marc-Andre versus Krzysztof Jotko. These guys are both strikers. I'm not really sure. I'd say they're about even. This is probably one of the toughest fights to call in the whole card because I think it's just whoever lands that big shot first, and I think it's probably going to be Mark. He has more knockouts on his record. I think Jotko is primarily just technique over anything. Like I said, it's tough. I could see Jotko just kind of outpointing him for 3 rounds, but like I said, I think that could go either way. They're both really good strikers, so I'm just leaning towards Mark. I think he has more power, so I think he's just going to do a little bit more damage when he hits, and that's going to edge out the rounds for him. He might get a finish, but I think it's going to be a decision. Probably close one, but I'm leaning towards Mark to win. Next, we got OAM versus Arman. I can't say this guy's last name. And to me, Arman showed... He looked amazing in his UFC debut. Like, he lost, but that was a fucking amazing fight. Like, if you saw him versus Islam Makhachev, those guys were wrestling like non-stop for 15 minutes straight. It was almost as good as the Benavidez Dustin Ortiz fight. The 3rd round, both guys got tired a little bit. Not super gassed, but, you know, a little tired. But it was pretty close to that. And you know what I mean? They're like 3 weight classes higher than them. So they were fighting at like flyweight pace for like 2.5 rounds almost. A little bit less. And I feel like we've already seen with Olivier, he can't really keep that type of pace. When he fought Alexander fucking can't remember, Hernandez. Hernandez was able to outpace him really easily. I feel like that's always been OAM's biggest weakness, is that he has good takedown defense, but I feel like if you get on top of him, he's not that great at getting back to his feet, for one. And I saw with Arkman, like, that dude can scramble nonstop, whether he's in a good position, bad position. He fights nonstop the whole fight, and I don't think OAM can keep up with his pace. And I think Arkham's just going to edge out every round and win by decision. He might even get a third round finish. Next is Jeff Neal versus Nico Price. And to me, Nico Price's only redeeming quality is that he's good at coming back. I think that he's just an okay fighter. He's got decent striking, decent grappling. He's always willing to get into a fight, which is his best quality. But I feel like he's pretty hittable, and there's a lot of fights where he's basically just won because he came back. I feel like we've already seen guys that were better strikers than him outstrike him largely, like when he fought Tim Means was outstriking him, and I forget the other guy who was outstriking him, and he just basically caught both those guys with a big punch as he almost getting dropped like a couple times. That's not going to happen with Jeff Neal. The way Jeff Neal strikes, he doesn't flurry like how they do, where they can get in those exchanges. He strikes very technically and far from the outside, and he can land good shots from guys, and he doesn't need to kind of wing wild in the middle. I just think Jeff Neal's going to pick Nico Price apart and eventually win by knockout with like a head kick or something. So I just got Jeff Neal. I think he's way better than Nico. The only way I see Nico win is if he can get it to the ground, maybe get a submission, but I don't think he will. I think Jeff Neal's takedown defense is too good. So, like I said, first or second round KO for Jeff Neal. Next, we got Cris Cyborg versus Felicia Spencer. And I still think Cris Cyborg is one of the best women fighters on the planet. I think she just made a big mistake against Nunes. I think she just tried to wing shots with her the first 30 seconds in and got knocked out. I think when she fights to her strengths, which is her conditioning and volume, you know, she has great power, but what makes her so great is that she just constantly moves forward and puts pressure on people. You know, if she just fights smart, she should be able to beat Felicia Spencer. I think Felicia Spencer's only chance to win is if she gets a takedown and takes her back. She's good at doing that, but I think Cyborg's takedown defense, and she's really good on the ground herself. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't think she's going to get submitted by Felicia. Even if Felicia gets her back, I think Cyborg's too strong. I think she'll get back up, get on the feet, and just pound away on Felicia and eventually win by TKO, probably in like the third round. Finally, we got Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar, and I honestly think this fight's going to be like the Brian Ortega fight. I think Max Holloway is too long and too accurate with his shots. I think Frankie Edgar has been in a shit ton of wars, and he's only getting older. Frankie Edgar's biggest weakness is he's always been super hittable. And people talk about Max Holloway's takedown defense like it's bad. It's like, I don't remember the last person that took him down, but it's been a fucking while since someone's taken him down, just held him down. Like, that hasn't happened since, like, Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Since that fight, his takedown defense has been pretty close to amazing. I don't know how often he gets taken down, but it's not that often. You know, people always talk about that shit like that's his Achilles heel, but I've never seen someone just take him down and control him since the McGregor fight. I don't think Frankie's going to be able to do it. Like I said, I think that Max Holloway does more damage at featherweight than he does at lightweight. I think that Frankie Edgar has never been a big finisher. And like I said, I think that Max Holloway, once he finds his range, it might take him a round or two, a little bit longer than Ortega did. But once he does, I think he's going to be the same thing. I think he's going to land some combos on him. Frankie's going to get wobbled, and then Max is just going to pick him apart. I think he's too accurate, and he's not going to let him off the hook once he hurts him, and I think he's going to win by knockout. Like I said, it might not be in the first because it takes Max about a round to get that range, but I'd be willing to bet second, third round Max Holloway gets a knockout. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.